Why should I leave home to find a home? You know, why should I leave friends that I love to find new
Wait a minute,
friends?
wait a minute. I've heard this already. Aren't you the one that told me for 8 weeks that you have to leave the nest sometime?
I realize that. I realize that.
No realizing. You've been telling me all summer.
So as of recording this section, I have one day until I go to college. And it's something you prepare for. You plan for it, you know it's coming, but it still feels odd. I'm leaving my family, yes, but I'm also leaving everything that was normal. It's an anxiety, but it's not overwhelming. It's more of a natural apprehension towards the unknown. And it's this exact feeling that George Lucas captures in his 1973 feature, American Graffiti. George Lucas is a name you might know from, Star Wars. But before all that success, he was a small, independent filmmaker struggling to get his next project made. He had one feature before American Graffiti, THX 1138. Weird title, it was a weird movie, and it wasn't very successful. It didn't leave much confidence in the minds of producers when Lucas was hoping for a second project. So his friend, Francis Ford Coppola, urged Lucas to try his hand at writing a hit, and quickly after, he had the script for American Graffiti, a more unassuming hangout comedy that still managed to capture his melancholic ideas on growing up and on childhood. Filmed with mostly night shoots in the summer of 1972, American Graffiti tells the story of two teenagers on the night before they leave for college. Kurt, played by Richard Dreyfuss, embodies the movie's anxiety towards the future, whereas Steve, played by Ron Howard, desperately wants to run headfirst into it. Political subtext would become something synonymous with Star Wars, but with American Graffiti, it was almost non-existent. Lucas recalls a time in his life when he still had this innocence in the sight of the world. Back when, just like Kurt and Steve, all there was to do in his hometown of Modesto, California was to cruise around town and dream of the future. There's a conflict in the film's ideas because Lucas is viewing them in the rearview mirror. It's hard to be black and white about growing up, knowing that the outcome of you doing so is a mixed bag of good and bad. The film structure is odd, with our characters being fragmented into their own stories only to arrive in one spot in the conclusion. There's no goal either, no external conflict to resolve. The only thing really driving the story forward is each character's internal attitude and how that expresses itself. For Kurt, his anxiety towards the future leads him to spend his night desperately chasing after a fantasy of a girl. While he's out cruising Main Street, he would have this brief, surreal interaction with her, leading him to chase this idea that she was the answer. That if he could just find her, all his negative thoughts on leaving would be satisfied and he would have the perfect excuse to stay. Steve's journey plays out in opposition, with his want of the future causing conflict in his relationships. His desperation to go ultimately causes him to push away his girlfriend. The movie structure plays its purpose in the life of these two characters. The screenplay is loose and can stretch to fit a story whose purpose isn't to land at a neat conclusion. It can allow Kurt and Steve to roam the streets and to interact with a wide group of characters without the need to follow everything up. It's in these interactions that our characters change. Kurt realizes that his desperation to find a reason to stay means he needs to go. Steve comes to see how his want to leave leads him to damage the relationship with the girl he loves, and is the reason why he needs to stay. So as we arrive to the end, I can't help but think, what does this mean for me as I leave home? Is there a lesson to be learned? Recently, I got together with two of my closest friends, and we watched American Graffiti. It wasn't my first time watching it, but this time it took on a different meaning. The teen angst was answered with the characters searching their own hearts on what was best for them and their community. In this last week before leaving, I've had all the time in the world to come to my own conclusion. But I don't have one. I'm excited to start this new chapter, and I'm excited to find that answer. Well, I'm here.
Okay, this is the review of one of my favorite movies, my personal favorite, American Graffiti. All right, so the movie in a nutshell is about one crazy night. But really, when you crack it open, it's about a little more. It's about life, mortality, and learning to leave the past behind. That's why I love it so much.